Okay, hello everyone. You know what? Let me go adjust my lighting here a little bit so you can see more of my face. So, regrettably, we do not have a great way to view it this time around. It sort of hinged on one particular camera, and since this is our first go, didn't really work out this time. So I can sort of default back to my original smartphone view, which isn't super ideal, but it's not. It's going to be a little bit shaky if we do it this time. So I can give you a few views of the comet. We can jump around to the planets again. A few more views of the comet. We still have some time with it here. If you are in the Binghamton Vestal area, go check it out for yourself for sure. Because it is visible in the northwestern sky right now. Again, if you use the bottom cup of the dipper, you can drag it down and you can see Comet NEOWISE. And that tail is extremely long. Of course, the close approach is on July 22nd. So that means it's getting closer, but it's also getting further from the sun. So there's that balance at play. So let's go ahead and take some views of the comet. Again, I don't want to be on it consistently because it's going to be hard to find that sweet spot. But we can at least see it tonight, which is, an accomplishment, I suppose. So let's give it a try. I'm going to use my camera again, my smartphone camera. And again, sorry for the delay, everyone. I realize we are an hour behind. But we'll give this a try. We were hoping to use a DSLR this time around to give you a clearer view of everything. But again, that didn't pan out. We couldn't get the exposure quite right, and we couldn't end up resolving it over a live feed. So it's surprising that in the end, the smartphone is gonna be able to support us here. But of course, the best way to view it is with binoculars yourself or with the naked eye. Let me bring this up. I'm gonna switch over to the streaming software I have for my camera on my phone. And again, apologies, this isn't the most ideal. We'll be able to do stable views of Jupiter and Saturn tonight for sure, but we'll start with the comet. New movie recording. There's my iPhone. Just one more second. I know you've all been waiting long enough. Unfortunately, too, we have to wait until it gets dark outside to test anything on the comet too. So that was really the problem we were running into. As soon as it got dark enough, we saw the comet. We had to do all this crazy testing. All right, there's that setup. Good there. Good there. We'll switch over to iPhone camera. Aha, there we go. Awesome. Looks good. You're seeing our setup here. There's a bit of inception for you. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom this field in a little bit on your end so we get a more full screen view. Less gobbledygook, more full screen. Okay. So here's this is sort of cool. One thing we can do, unlike last time, is I can show you our 6-inch telescope. Let me do it like this. Oop, other way. There we go. Here's our 6-inch refractor telescope. We have a 40 millimeter eyepiece at the end, and you can see it's a long scope. Refractors are longer. This is an f12 refractor, so it's particularly long. It's on an equatorial mount, and the equatorial mount allows us to track the comet, and among other objects, from stars to planets and Comet NEOWISE here. So it's tracking right now. It's not a go-to telescope. Our other two domes have go-to telescopes. This one does not. So this one, we do have to manually find the object, so we call it a push-to scope. Now, what we're going to do, this is where I got to back up a little bit here. And I'm going to set you down for just a sec so I can lower the lights. Tonight's live stream will probably be a bit shorter than last time, just because I don't have the stability that we had. But as long as we can see NEOWISE, I'll be pretty happy. So I'm going to move my laptop to the top here. Bear with me. There we go. Nice keyboard, huh? Okay. Should be stable. All right, let's see if we can spot NEOWISE. We're going to hover our camera over the eyepiece. Yep, it's still in there. Aha! So there's Comet NEOWISE. Again, I'll do my best to keep it in view. This eyepiece is a little bit finicky. So there's the nucleus, and you can see the tail. This is only part of the tail of the comet, though. It's not the entire thing. Oops, lost it. There we go. Come on. Where'd you go? There we go. You can see some stars in the background. We can take a snapshot here. Three-second exposure gives us a nicer view. You can see that green color is back. Oops, there we go. Did our view get all cattywampus here? Hit the screen. There we go. Hit the screen. There we go. Well, I don't know what's going on with our live view. This is not as smooth as it was last week. I apologize. Fit the screen. There we go. There it is. Getting some green color from the comet. Again, the idea with the DSLR earlier was that we would be able to get a longer exposure and see more detail from the comet, possibly even the ion tail, and we'd be able to remotely stream that view of our process of, even if like we had to do an 8-second exposure, which would actually take 8 seconds to record. we could have displayed the results of that live to you. But again, that did not pan out as we had hoped. We also tried the ZWO camera. We call it the ZWO. It's a particular astrophotography sensor. And we use that for planets usually. But it's too narrow a field for use with this particular comet. But you're getting that tail. You're getting that nucleus and the coma around it. So, let's see if I can spot any. You can still see it with the naked eye. I'm looking at it right now with my eye. The tail is exceptionally long, especially when you look at it with averted vision. One thing I can try here, why don't we try taking a long exposure outside like through the dome window rather. So we're gonna give this a try. I'm gonna mount it right on the scope itself. We're gonna see if we can get a nice, you can see the Big Dipper out there, just about. Might be coming through. Let's take a long exposure and see what we get. Yep, and you're just about getting the comet down there, so let's even do a little bit longer. I don't know why it insists on, maybe I'm going to orientation lock my phone so it stops switching our view. This kind of gets annoying. Okay. Try again here. See if I can bump this up any more. 10 seconds ought to do. You can see just about, you can see the Big Dipper up top, part of it. And, oh dear. There we go. Laptop was unsteady on our perch here. Let's make sure it doesn't fall off, because then the whole thing ends. So you can see that view right out of our scope. Yeah, the ISS was flying over earlier, which is pretty cool. Let's try another snapshot. At the dome. Oh, we got some clouds now. Right over the comet, too. They're very wispy, thin clouds, though. They're going to move over pretty quick. But you can see the comet, the nucleus right there. And then the clouds hiding the tail. Curious what that looks like. Why don't we go inspect that in the viewfinder of the scope? Oh, there's a satellite moving through. Let's see if we can capture that before it moves on. See the satellite. There's the comet. You can see part of our tail is a little bit blocked off from those clouds that are right on top of it. But we're still seeing a good portion of it. Yeah, if you're wondering, even if you don't have a, let me flip my, yeah, there we go. If you have just a smartphone, one of the modern iPhones, or I mean, you say modern iPhone, but or like one of the within the past couple years, or Android device, they have a feature built in called night mode, and night mode is designed to give you long exposures of a particular object or night sky shot. So you may have the ability to take a picture of the comet right now if you go outside. So you'll know if you have night mode on iPhone if there's this little yellow icon. See if I tap it, it brings up this view at the towards the shutter button. And that lets you adjust exposure. So you can either you can turn it off and that'll just, you can see it darken the view. You can bring it to 3 seconds, or you can bring it to 10 seconds. Now, if you have it mounted on a tripod or mounted on a telescope, like we had last time, it'll bump you up to a 5-second or 30-second exposure. So you can really collect even more detail out of it. Yeah, I see those wispy clouds now. Let's do another. So again, we're on a 10-second exposure, so I'm going to take 10 second of the sky here, right out of our dome. And even when you don't have a tripod, the camera is able to do some pretty significant processing. And now we can see, once again, the comet is right there. Definitely recommend a tripod, but if you don't have one, that's okay. You can still get some pretty decent shots of the night sky. I'm waiting for those clouds to move over so we can get some better shots out of it. Let me go ahead and switch over to my camera on my webcam, and we will answer a few questions before we start viewing again. Turn that up. There we go. You can see me better. Okay, hello. I am back. So if there's any, let's see, I'm sure I missed a few. Again, yeah, I don't have a good idea of how long the tail is. Usually they are tens of millions of miles long, but this one's exceptionally long from our perspective right now, especially because we are on close approach to it. July 22nd is the closest approach. Yeah, in Binghamton, if you're deep into Binghamton with significant light pollution from street lights or just the lights in the city, you probably won't be able to spot it. It is a pretty dim object at this point, so you do need a dark sky zone. Let me bring up my brightness on my laptop a little bit. There we go. Now you can see my face. ISS was flying, yep, we saw that. Okay, I think that covered a fair bit. So let's go ahead and take another peek at the comet. I'm going to switch back to camera here. Bring my brightness down on my screen. All right, back into the viewfinder. think we're still in those clouds. It's funny, the other night there were virtually no clouds. Let's take a 3-second exposure and see just how much of that tail we're losing. Oh wow, a good amount. Yeah, they're hanging out in the northwestern sky there. I guess there are more than I thought there were. Let's take a picture of it. They're harder, I mean, it helps to have something with a longer exposure so you can really get a sense of what's out there. Yeah, there are these wispy clouds that are blocking our view. You can see that on your end. We still have some time with the comet. So maybe let's bounce over to, I'm going to switch over to the please stand by. We'll bounce over to the planets quick. And then we'll come back and end the show with the comet one more time. Like I said, this will be a shorter stream tonight, but which way do I want to go? I want to go other way. Yeah, there are actually quite a few clouds on that side of the sky. So we will move the scope over to the southeastern sky. Or really, it's almost due east at this point. Last time we streamed, it was southeastern because it was much later in the night, but we're going to switch over to the webcam that we used last time to observe the planets. That adapter. Find this adapter. There it is. Then once, like I said, once we see the planets, we'll try the comet once more. So you can see Jupiter and Saturn tonight. If you go outside, you do not need to worry about light pollution. Bring that down there. Okay, on battery. I'm going to mute myself for just a sec. All right. Put that in. We'll go to Jupiter first. Switch over to the Zwo camera. Whoa. There we go. Now I need to make sure this actually is connected to this. Whoa. There we go. Anyone that's new that's entering the stream here, we are experiencing some clouds in the northwestern sky. So we will return to NEOWISE as soon as those clear up. Right now we're just jumping over to the eastern sky for some planets. While those are out, we're gonna just take a few pictures of those. Make sure we're aligned here. There it was. Ah, there's Jupiter. And we gotta adjust the focus here. Okay, let's adjust the exposure. There we go. There's Jupiter with its equatorial gas bands. I would say the seeing is not nearly as good as it was Friday night. Yeah, I mean, also, to be fair, the planets were much higher up in the sky at that point. But if we bump the exposure up, you see the moons? Where are all the moons? I don't see them all. Only two? Are both of the other ones either in front or behind of the planet? That might be. Let's find out. Unless someone in the chat knows. I'm just going to put out a quick message for anyone that joins the stream that NEOWISE is clouded out for the moment. Okay, so there's Jupiter. Let's find out what those moons are at the moment and see if there's any in front or behind, because that's... We can end up getting some pretty cool shadows in our processed images if they are in front. If you didn't already, you can go to Facebook to see the results of the Friday night images. So, oh, interesting. Yeah, there is... Ganymede's right behind Jupiter, or almost just emerging from the other side. Is it going to emerge? Because if it's going to emerge, we're going to watch that. Yeah, it looks like Ganymede will emerge from one side of Jupiter. So we might go ahead and check that out. Let's see if we can spot it yet. No. Yeah, it should be like we're like right on the... Where's Callisto? No, Callisto should be out there. Right now we're seeing the one on the left is Io, the one on the right is Europa. Yeah, Dave, it should be 3. There should be another one. Let's see if we can find it. See if we move around a little bit, if we can find Callisto. It should be on the over here on the other side. Oh, there it is. Wow, is it really that far out? Jeez. I guess we are really zoomed in on Jupiter right now. But yeah, this one, bring up the game. There's Callisto and Io. Callisto, Io, and then Europa. And Ganymede is right behind the planet right now. Just behind it, even. Be cool if we could watch it emerge. Are we getting clouds on... Because Jupiter's coming in and out here too. We might be getting clouded out on the eastern. Let's take it. I'm going to take a quick pic of that. Because I can't quite... It doesn't look to my eye that we're seeing clouds, but there might be just some faint haze out there. Yeah, that is. It's just some faint haze. I still see the Milky Way, so it's not totally clouding out. Saturn's pretty dim over where it is, but I guess we're just coming in and out here. Yeah, from what I understand, at least from the application I was using, it looked like Ganymede was behind Jupiter right now, but is moving out from behind it. Callisto looks like it's solitary. Io, Europa, yeah, nothing's too close to each other. But if I travel through time a bit, Ganymede emerges from the backside of the planet. We will switch over to Saturn. I also want to check the weather coming up this week to see if... Well, first I will say, before we switch over to Saturn, I do want to keep watching Jupiter. So we'll give it another 5 to 10 minutes to see if Ganymede emerges. But it's sort of cool because this gives you a sense of that things are dynamic out there. Like even the comet won't appear very dynamic, but you will see it moving against the stellar background, especially when you're zoomed in on it. But the planets, especially Jupiter with its moons, you can notice significant movement throughout an evening. Yeah, it looks like here... Oh no, that's saying... Hang on, let me switch the location. I'm trying to see our next opportunity, if in fact the clouds are going to get in our way tonight for the comet. Yeah, oh, well, that'd be convenient because you know, we're famous for our Friday night programs. It looks like Friday might be another clear night. If that is the case, well, we will do another stream. We will be 2 days past the peak, though. Well, maybe not the peak, but the close approach. So we'll have to see how much that affects the visibility, but through a telescope, I'm sure we can still spot it. But the weather's looking okay for Friday, if we can't get it again tonight. Let's jump back to that view. Let's see. John, so you have a question about, so you say, hey, can I use binoculars in my phone to zoom in more on the planet? I mean, yeah, you could. Effectively, what your phone will be doing is it'll be digitally zooming through your binoculars, so you won't really be getting an optical benefit to your zoom. But that doesn't mean you won't be potentially seeing, you know, a little bit more detail by just digitally zooming into it. Depends on how fine the image is, how much clarity you're getting from the binoculars. Really, though, the best clarity is just going to come from the optical magnification that are from the binoculars. But I mean, if your phone actually does have, I know some phones nowadays are getting like 10 times optical zoom and so on. If you have a phone like that, you might be able to combine it with the binocular magnification. I'm just not sure. So if we look at back to Jupiter here, we'll bump up the exposure again. Yeah, it's just not. I'm not even like, usually you might see some kind of evidence of a little, even just a little bit of a distortion on Jupiter's edges. But let's see if we can focus it any better than we're at right now. No red spot tonight either, at least at our current position. Nope. Bring up the game. See, the worry is here, if it is so close to the planet right now that if we try to increase our exposure and our gain, the planet's going to inflate a little bit. It's going to grow just because of the sheer amount of light coming off of it. So we'll miss anything coming off from the edges if we don't get the exposure and gain just right. Yeah. Well, why don't we bounce over to Saturn and then come back to Jupiter? But I will quickly step outside to see if the northwestern sky is cleared at all. Give me 1 second. Outside quick. Yep. The northwestern sky is clouded up completely. That is too bad. Well, yeah, like I said, let's jump back to Saturn. We'll observe that for a little bit. Jump back to Jupiter. I'll check outside one more time, see if we can get one last look at the comet, and then we'll wrap up for the night. Saturn will be a quick bounce. It's pretty much right next to Jupiter. It's very convenient. Now, one cool thing about Saturn and Jupiter this year is right around, I think it's right around the winter solstice. It might even be the day of the winter solstice. Saturn and Jupiter are going to be going through a conjunction. And through binoculars or through a wider field eyepiece on a telescope, you'll be able to see both of those objects simultaneously. They'll be right on top of each other almost. Now, of course, that's not the case for their position in the solar system, but from our perspective here on Earth, they'll look really close to each other. And because of that, we will be able to image them and see them visually at the same time. So I'm pretty excited. It's a great imaging opportunity. But it'll also be... So what that means is as time goes on and as we head into the fall, you'll notice Jupiter and Saturn getting closer and closer to each other. Bear with me here. I'm trying to get Saturn centered. There's a star in our field of view, but that's not what I want. I would like Saturn, please. Okay, last thing I can try here is to bump up the exposure one more step. Or several more steps, really. As I mentioned, the 6-inch is a push to, and because we're so zoomed in on the ZWO, unless our finder is pinpoint accurate, which we did adjust it earlier, but maybe it has moved since then. It's going to take me a moment to actually find the planet. I'm not finding any evidence of anything bright around. Oh, just right as I say it. Okay, I'm narrowing it down here. Let me grab my there we go. Success! Oh, wait. Nope, spoke too soon. Hang on. There it is. With several of its moons. Look at that. They're kind of in a neat line. Let me see if, before we look at the planet, let me see if I can tell you what those are. Ooh. Well, my best guess here is the one that's closest on the lower right-hand side is Dione. Then Rhea, then Titan maybe? Unless Titan usually is way out. Let's go see if we can find another one. No, that might be... That dim one is probably Iapetus. Let's see if we lower the exposure here, if we can get any other moons coming out. Yeah, there are quite a few that are close. Right on top of the planet right now. Like Enceladus and Tethys. That's probably what we're seeing there. But, well, anyways, let's go ahead and try and find the rings. Let's adjust that. Okay, bring that down. There we go. And we'll center this for you. Okay, zoom in. Do a little bit of focusing. Now what I just did there is a digital zoom. So it's really just to benefit you on the streaming end. It really doesn't improve visual quality at all. But there's Saturn tonight. And if you were here on Friday, you would have noticed both for Jupiter and Saturn, the moons would be in different locations. One thing we would like to do at some point is do a time-lapse, at least of Jupiter's moons. Or even a time-lapse of Jupiter's rotation, because that's a little bit more apparent than Saturn's rotation. Jupiter also rotates once every 9 hours. It's very quick, so it's easy to get through. If you're up all night, you can get almost a full rotation of Jupiter. we bring the gain back up, might be able to see the moons again. There was one right close to it. We gotta bring the exposure up too. There they are. There's a few of them. But we'll bring it back down to the rings, because that's the coolest part. You can see right now, again, because we're looking at them a bit earlier tonight, it's a little bit more hazy, not as crystal clear as it was Friday, but not a bad view by any stretch. It's a good, you can see the rings, you can see the Cassini division. Pretty nice. Okay. Zoom back out a little. See if I can center the image a bit. There we go. Oh, we have so we have a clearer list of these moons around Saturn. Why don't we, so we just put in using our Kopernik account, we have in the chat what we can expect for the moon. So let's go ahead and bring those back up so we can identify those. So we say Dione is on the lower right, which we see that moon on the lower right. We have on the other side, Enceladus and Tethys are right next to each other. Okay. And then further out is Rhea and finally Titan. Okay, so yeah, that's about what we're seeing. Get some stars in the background. Whoops. there's the main planet again. In just a moment, we will switch back over to Jupiter to see. It's been about 20 minutes or so, maybe 25. So we will jump back over to Jupiter in a moment to check out if that moon has emerged from behind the planet. And then again, I will check to see if the northwestern sky has improved any, and we maybe can see the comet one more time if it is still above our tree line. I think at this time Friday from the 6-inch telescope it was. Just barely, but it was. So, we'll look at Saturn for another few minutes, but we will plan to explore Comet NEOWISE one more time at least, as weather allows it. And we'll probably just go right for the tried and true method of the smartphone camera, just because that does at least give us a decent view. It's not ideal. Maybe we can test the DSLR one more time at some point this week and see if we can get it to function. But I mean, I want to start on time next time, so that's the trouble with having to work against the night sky, is you're especially with something like this comet here, you're limited on how much testing time you have. But hey, the next comet will be all ready. Again, the comet completes its close approach on July 22nd, after which it is moving away. So it looks like the skies are going to be clear on Friday, hopefully. If it stays true, then we will try again on Friday. The comet may have dimmed to that point where it might not be visible to the naked eye. It's hard. Comets are unpredictable, though, so, and especially for me, where I haven't experienced many myself. That's just based on like the fact that it'll be moving away from us at that point, as well as moving away from the sun. But it'll only be 2 days out, so hopefully we'll be able to spot and get it in the telescope. We might try a wider aperture scope at that point, maybe the 14-inch reflector, so we can collect more light from it. That should improve our chances of getting a good view. All right, let's move over to Jupiter. Look at that, though. Saturn, it seems to be improving a little bit, the view of it. The Cassini division is coming in and out. You're even seeing some banding on the main planet itself. Again, still not as good as it was last week, but not bad. You can definitely tell the difference between the planet and the rings. Like you can see the sphere of the planet and where the rings start and end, which is exactly what you want to see. That's the kind of detail you want to spot. All right, let's go to Jupiter now. Swing back to Jupiter. I actually have to adjust the dome. Just a touch, because again, they are so close to each other. If you weren't here when I mentioned the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, that is coming up this December. Be on the lookout for that. You'll be able through using binoculars or a wide field eyepiece on a telescope, you will be able to image both of them together. They will be that close. It'll be a pretty cool opportunity. Lots of good events. Some we knew about, the conjunction we knew about in 2020. That's easily predictable. What we could not predict was this brilliant comet that came swinging by. You never know how a comet is going to turn out. There were a few this year that they were watching and hoping might turn into something. But I think that's a star we're seeing whisk by. I don't think that's Jupiter. Jupiter's going to be a big glob. Try again here. Oh, there's an owl joining me outside. You probably can't hear that, but lots of interesting wild. Oh, there it is. This is where go-to telescopes come in handy. No matter what magnification you're on, you'll still, as long as things stay relatively centered, the computer can handle the finding of the object. There's definitely something bright right there. I'm just not getting the... Oh. It's right there. What direction? No? This telescope is very touchy right now. Oh, there it is. There we go. There we go. Okay. Still no evidence of Ganymede. Ganymede is elusive tonight. According to this software, it should be out there. Have a closer look here. Oh, you know what? It's still in the shadow of Jupiter. That's where our problem is. What time is it? 11:47? Yeah, we won't see it until midnight. Okay, well, why don't that'd be kind of a fun thing to do. I will go check the sky in just a moment to see if it's worth bouncing back over to the comet quick. But otherwise, I think we'll wait for Ganymede to emerge because it's gonna do so around midnight. So let me adjust it so we can see the planet again. There we go. Just to give you something cool to look at while we wait. And then around midnight, we'll adjust the exposure settings. Because right now, the comet, not the comet, excuse me, the moon is, if we look at the moons again, gotta check which one is which quick. Time, the closer one is Io, and the further one is Europa. And Callisto should be on the same side as Io. Again, we will double check that. Yeah, there's Callisto. So you're going to be looking on the left side for Ganymede. Ganymede is on the same side as Io. And we should be able to start seeing light from it right around midnight, it starts to move out of the shadow of Jupiter. So let's see how accurate this application is. If you're wondering what one I'm using an app called Redshift. It's a really nice planetarium app on iPhone. You do have to pay for it. It's a little bit pricey, but it gives you complete access to the sky on your phone. And you can bounce around to different planets, see what the sky looks like on those, fly to different ones, orbit around them. It's really full featured. It's not just look at the. I mean, as nice as it is, a lot of those apps are just to look at the sky from Earth's perspective, but that one is more far-reaching and multifunctional. Oh, I have a little bug friend joining me, a little beetle or something. The 20-inch, yeah, it should be able to live stream. I think we have currently a technical issue with it right now. I don't think it's a very serious one, as far as I know, but it is a matter of. Oh yeah, Skyview is a good one, John. It is a matter of getting someone who's trained on the 20-inch. I personally am not at the moment for the camera system that's on there. But once we do, we can definitely live stream from the 20 and get some great. And yes, we would need the live stream software on there. Yep, on the 20. But other than that, it would be pretty, like, we would just be able to stream the camera view just like we're doing right here with the webcam, the astrophotography webcam. Be a very similar experience where you can see what we do. We can get a webcam to show you our faces while it's happening. It's a little bit tricky to do that in here. Like, I could potentially, if I wanted to, why don't we give this a try? Ooh, there I am. Shrink myself down. There we go. So now you can see me, which might be a little bit more interesting. Turn the lights on there. Again, my audio might be a little bit out of sync just because we're running this from a laptop, but that's the idea. This might be a little bit more of a... Oh, wait, do we see... Oh, no way. I think we're seeing Ganymede emerge. Let me bring up my view here, my full view. You see it, guys? It's just moving out of the shadow of the planet. And that's only like probably a quarter Ganymede. It's not a full Ganymede. That's why it's so it's not very bright right now compared to the others. Ganymede's the largest moon in the solar system. It's massive. It's way bigger than our moon, and if it wasn't orbiting around Jupiter, it would be a planet. So it gets much brighter than that. Similar brightness to the other moons. So right now we're only seeing about a quarter of it lit. But we're seeing it emerge right now. We're seeing it live. This is sort of cool because it's so close to the planet. We can actually start to see it move away a little bit over the course of like a 10-minute period. And we'll actually start seeing it brighten. We're going to see it brighten live, which is, this is pretty neat. I'll plug my laptop in. So while the comet is not visible to us at the moment, at least we can see something dynamic in the sky. I might have to change the name of this stream to Jupiter and Saturn instead of the comet, but it's all right. go. See how it's brightening? It's brightening pretty fast. Now, I will say, this is sort of a unique experience on the live stream here, because we can all watch this together as a group. Rather, like, it wouldn't be something that we could really effectively do, especially with a large crowd up here. So this is one benefit of our new streaming. I mean, of course, looking at the object is the best way to do it through a telescope. Don't get me wrong there. But it's sort of cool that we can watch things like this happen together through our live stream. Because otherwise you'd need to keep coming to the telescope and watching it, how it would change. And depending on how long the line is, that could take a while. It's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen an emergence like this. Usually when I observe Jupiter, all the moons are out. I think I've seen one transit it before, but... Look at that. It's just about, yeah, just about at the same brightness. It might brighten up a little bit more because, as I said, it's the biggest one. But we're approaching midnight here, and that was around when you get roughly a full Ganymede. Let's see if we can... Well, I sort of don't want to... Well, no, it's about the same brightness, so I will adjust the exposure levels here. So you can see just how close it is. Can I get it just right where we can see the... Yeah, we might not be able to. But at least that'll let us see if it'll brighten up any more than it already is. We'll look at the detail on the planet in the next few minutes. Yeah, the cool thing too, when we do finally open up for the public, we'll be able to potentially continue doing some kind of live stream at some point. I mean, we wouldn't want to really take up a telescope while we have a huge crowd up here. But, you know, during the weekdays where we don't often have public, we could still do live streams from the scopes. We have some new opportunities here to explore that we might not have otherwise, but All right, we are just about at full Ganymede. And we can tell that the planet has moved away from Jupiter a little bit. That's another reason why I love using that redshift. Is it gives you details about the moons. Some planetarium programs will not necessarily show you shadows on the moons and show you what part of Jupiter is facing you. So if you are looking to see if you want the red spot is out, great red spot to observe through a scope. Some of them won't tell you whether it's actually facing you or not. It'll just be a default image of Jupiter rather than an actual 3D rotational object. So those are the ones, at least for telescopic observation, those are the ideal applications. But sometimes you just need a basic, like, where is this object? You don't need to see any fine detail. There's different use cases. Yeah, I suppose that's true, Dave. All right, let me give you some detail on Jupiter so you can see the surface once again. Yeah, you can just about see the moons there as well. If I zoom in a little bit, maybe even a little better. You can see Ganymede there. Oh, look at how hazy it is, though. Jeez, very wobbly image there. Not ideal tonight. This shows you that I recommend going back to the previous live stream. Towards the end, we did some imaging of Jupiter and Saturn. So much clearer that night. A lot less particles in the atmosphere, a lot less turbulence. But go ahead and check that out for a minute or two. I'm going to go check the sky. I think the comet might have set at this point, but let's see. For some reason, those clouds are only hanging out in the northwestern sky. I'm going to rotate the dome in a moment, just so I can get a higher view of the sky, just to give it one last glance. So we'll lose Jupiter in a second here, but rotate it on over. Here we go. We're gonna lose Jupiter in 3, 2, 1. See what we got. Yeah, they're just hanging out. Right in that spot. They're not really spreading out from, or rather into the rest of the sky, but said it was supposed to be mostly clear tonight. All right. Well, we got a few glances at it. Again, we will try again the next time it's clear, and we'll do a more stable stream of the sky. Let me switch back on over to just my camera view. Let's see. Where is that? Oh, that's my iPhone. There we go. So, thank you all for joining me tonight. Again, fortunately, we didn't get to see as much of Comet NEOWISE as we would have liked, but we will try and stream again. We'll do the similar thing where we observe NEOWISE for most of the time if we can, and as long as the sky holds up and our camera works out. But then we'll of course bounce over to Jupiter or Saturn, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to do some deep sky stuff too, whether that be when we set up our 20-inch or if we get a DSLR into a scope. We can try that out as well. So if there aren't any final questions for tonight, doesn't look like there was any I missed. Have a good night, David. Oh, there's two Davids. You just have a good evening as well. All right. Well, I will shut down the stream for now. We hope to see you soon on our next clear night, and maybe get Comet NEOWISE one more time. Thanks for joining me, guys, and have a good one.